Welcome everyone to Stock Talk for August 8th. So this is the SPY S&P 500 daily time frame, and welcome back everyone to viewing this video. And today we had a pretty powerful move to the upside. As a matter of fact, it was so powerful that you can see this yellow line that came across, this higher low line, which should act as resistance. And what we did essentially was break right across as if this resistance line doesn't even exist. Now, in order for that to happen, one, we have to have substantial buying power, which we did. We actually let's take a look at the intraday chart. What is more significant about this time frame, actually we'll go to the 5-day, 5-minute just to show you what's been happening, was because in the past few days we've seen an open and a close, slightly higher, an open lower, but then the close was just slightly higher than the previous day. But what was substantial about today's move, as you can see, was we opened slightly higher, but we went significantly higher without the bulls giving way at all. Now that's powerful stuff, because what I can see here is usually this line coming across should act as resistance, and for the buying to not subside around this level and for it to continue and hold over that level on a daily basis, that is a positive sign rather than a negative sign. Now, what's going to happen in the next few days? Well, first off, you have to imagine that this higher low line should not have been easily broken. We talked about the analogy of, hey, bulls should go a little bit slower than the bears, but having this move and recovering this line in one day, that's pretty bullish. Because what could have happened in the past was, hey, we came up, but we can't get across above this resistance line. As a matter of fact, you can see in the past, when we sliced on lower, we were not able to recover this line at all. And hence, that was the major correction or bear market. For us to recover this level cannot be viewed as negative. It has to be viewed, in my opinion, as pretty positive sign. Now, as long as we hold over this higher low line and closed over it, that's pretty darn bullish. Where can we get a resistance? Where can we find some resistance? I think right here, the 20-period moving average is a resistance, but because the trend is up, now it is up to the bears, if they show up, to take us lower. If they don't show up and this sticks, then look for higher prices to come. And I know that it's quite a shocker that in the past few days we went down to a low after market of around 278.50, and now all of a sudden we're breaking higher. Just a quick reminder, I mentioned how the red line is, in my opinion, the last line of defense for the bulls, and we can see the bulls stood up, they took right at it, and they took the market up with it. So with the bulls holding the most important support, I think, then the trend is great. I mean, the primary trend here, the major trend here continues to the upside so far. So again, we'll take this a day at a time, but today cannot be viewed as bearish. This is bullish because of the way we broke to the upside. All right, let's look towards the TVIX or volatility. Are we seeing the same thing for TVIX? Well, let's take a look. Right now, I pointed out in the last video how with TVIX, and especially if we're going to go into a more bear mode, the major peaks of these moves should not be making a higher high. And as you can see, for TVIX, we have not made a higher high. These are a series of lower highs on major moves, and this is pushing to the downside. No doubt about that either. So this is why 2 days ago I said, hey, there's a tail candle here that looks pretty suspect of a potential reversal back to the downside, and we're seeing some follow through today. So that is with TVIX or volatility dying down. That matches, of course, with the markets pushing up substantially today. So markets look much better. and I'll tackle a lot of your comments near the end of the video. So let's go to crude oil. Now, crude oil, so this is a chart that in essence we want to avoid for broad markets. If broad markets were doing something like this, a series of lower highs and below all the moving averages, and coming down to retest a support level, which we should have never come down, then this looks a little bit more bearish. This actually looks more bearish, much more bearish. So we're still below all the moving averages. And until we can steer clear of the number of $58, this trend is going to have a hard time to flip to the upside. Again, I always say this: does crude oil have the potential to flip to the upside? It does, but it needs to find better ground to do so. This is not the ground that I see right now. I need some more confirmation that we flip this trend instead of wedging in such that, you know, we moved higher and we're making a downward slanting wedge or some sort of wedge pattern, or we broke down from the wedge and needs to recover and push to the upside for this trend to reverse. Natural gas, same old story here. Here's the daily time frame. We repeat this over and over. Here is your line of 2.128. That should act as support and now acting as resistance, but especially the 20 period and the 50 period on the daily continues to act as resistance. And this looks like it wants to keep pushing to the downside with a support, next support of 1.888. Gold futures continues to trek higher. Same story here. Nothing has changed. Your next resistance line is around 1545 to 1550. We're getting close to that area, but this is still on an uptrend. But we're getting to that area where, hey, another resistance. So just be a little bit cautious as we continue on forward. Now, let's take a look at some of your comments. And, all right, we'll start with the first comment. Long on SD. Keep up the great analysis. I was wondering what you thought about CRM. Thank you for your reply, by the way. CRM right here, technically it is very oversold, but it is below all of its moving averages. Long-term chart looks good. So let's take a look at CRM or Salesforce. So CRM, so, you know, with CRM, this chart pattern is still consolidating, right? It's had a nice move. So let me just show you what's been happening for this chart. Let's go to the weekly. So here's the weekly, right? Actually, let me remove this line here. We got to the weekly, and what we've been doing is back and forth, back and forth. So today it's moving higher, but look at this overbearing candle. The large length of this candle. So that is a little bit troublesome because this candle essentially wiped out several weeks of consolidation in the past. And on the daily time frame, what we've been doing is we're below all the moving averages. We don't have or see a substantial move higher. And the risk going into this one right now is, while we are below the moving averages, and you might think, okay, this looks oversold and there's a good buying opportunity right now, there's a risk always of earnings on 822, right? So perhaps we can gap above on 822, but that would be guessing. I don't know if we can gap above on CRM. And what this is doing right now is below all the moving averages. So that is not doesn't look that consistent right now with this pattern. This pattern is more mimicking of a long-term consolidation pattern than of a pattern that shows us that we can, you know, break out of this pattern and break above 168. So that is CRM, or my take on CRM. AMD Space Ghost. So with AMD and the rest of the semis, our group has been monitoring it closely. So Space Ghost, you're saying that watch AMD, your jaw will drop. Yeah, we've been looking at AMD for the past few days and some other stocks in that area. So the major point of emphasis here is, you know, AMD on the weekly time frame. If we can close something like this tomorrow, that's obviously a positive sign, because this is a major area of resistance, 31.31, and for us to break down, get towards the 20, and then recover that level and going near the peak, that is a positive sign for AMD. Did I buy it when it was dropped? No. So personally, I have not. I can say that this looks rather bullish on the weekly time frame, especially if we close like this. But I personally have not bought into AMD, is the ticker itself. The reason is I'm more interested just to see where it goes because we're at the 10-year resistance. But that's just a decision that But this still positive, right? As you can see. All right, Steve, great video. Thank you for your comment, Steve. Coolio, what didn't help the bulls was Disney after the market today. Going to be tough time for another retest soon of all-time highs. Is that for Disney or broad markets? Now, so here's Disney today. Oh, actually on the weekly. So let's look at Disney today. Interesting move higher. It did. Yeah, so we got a gap down, and then we just pretty much kind of came up to the gap area, and that was that. So, yeah, it doesn't look as strong right now, but Disney. Oh, so with the market at all-time highs, yeah, so what I can say about that is yesterday and the day before yesterday didn't look like it as much, but given a powerful move today, tables have turned a little bit. Now it's really up to the bears to pull us lower. Until that changes, until we start breaking below this line and say, hey, we can't get above that line, this is a bullish chart. And one more turn, I thank you for watching the video. And with that, thank you everyone for watching this video. I will talk to everyone very soon. Hope you have a great trading day. Take care.